So, Rajat, welcome to the Crypto Princess channel. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Um, I'm so looking forward to hearing your crypto story. You're a fellow Bitcoin maxi like myself. So, Rajat, the resident question I ask all my guests is: if I was to meet you in high school, what kind of person were you?
I was completely different. So now I pretty much educate myself just for fun. At the time, I hated I hated learning. I thought it was so boring. I guess because high school, the books that we use, the textbooks are just really boring. You can't read them. Um, even even the information seems very dumbed down. I wasn't really into it at the time, but now I'm really getting into it. I've been trying to learn a lot more. So I was a completely different person. Um, I was trying to fit in with the crowd. I was trying to do things to make myself look or seem cool. I mean, I guess that's how everybody is, right? In high school, you're younger, you don't really know enough about the world. Now I think I'm older and I'm much wiser.
Awesome, awesome. So, after school, did you go off to university?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. In 2020, that's the first you heard about Bitcoin. Tell me, what were you doing in 2020 when you first heard about Bitcoin?
So the very first time I heard about Bitcoin was in like 2009, 2010. I was a
Oh,
high school student. Um, I didn't really care about it though. Of course, if I had adopted it then, I wouldn't have understood it at the depth that I do today. But at the time, I thought it was too complicated. In 2020 is actually when I started taking action and started learning about it. And one of my coworkers actually mentioned it to me. I remember when Bitcoin was at around 3,500, $4,000 in March of 2020. He told me to buy some, and I didn't. I didn't understand it, right? I just thought it was a scam, just like everybody today. Most people today think that it's a scam. They don't want to buy it. They don't care about it. I went through the exact same thing as all of these people. So at the time, I was working a job. I had completed my CFA, this Chartered Financial Analyst designation. I started working a new job. I was going downtown at the time. Long commute. I was tired all day, every day. All I could do at the time was go to the gym, come home, work. I didn't really have a life of my own, and that was in 2020. I hated my job. At the time I thought I liked it, but in reality I was miserable. And you don't really understand that until after you get out of a job that you hate. You do everything you can to basically compensate for the job, for the things that you hate in life. You try to kind of blunt
yeah.
the feelings, right? So you go out with friends, you waste tons of time, you buy things, and that's what I was doing in 2020. I hated my job, I hated my career. I thought I was on a good path because okay, everybody else is doing the same thing as me. Everybody else who did this in the past is successful. My parents did this, my uncles and aunts did this, so I'll do the same thing. But I mean, it wasn't the right path for me at all.
Let's talk about 2021, the next year. So I believe you quit your job and you started to work in real estate. Now 2021, for those people who are not aware, that was a bull run year. 2020 was a halving year. 2021 was a bull run year. So we started off the year around about 30 odd thousand US dollars. We went up to April, where we hit a local high of 64,000 US dollars. We had the China FUD, and Bitcoin dropped 50% and it ranged at 30,000 US dollars for a few months. Bitcoins were taken off the exchanges, and the supply shock led to Bitcoin going up and now making the actual all-time high in 2021 at 69,000 US dollars in November 2021. Around about this time, so not only was it a whirlwind of a bull run, you got into Bitcoin in 2021 and you also read the Bitcoin standard. A lot happened in 2021. Break it down for us.
I think it was just the hype, right? Seeing Bitcoin's price go up, and then this guy just talking about it. He was constantly talking. It made me think, okay, there has to be something here. Um, Eventually, I read the book, but not because of him. I was, I guess, paying more attention because of him. He kind of, I guess, planted the seeds. In 2021, I got really miserable at my job. I didn't like it. While I was working at the job, I started an Instagram page, and the Instagram page kind of took off. So by the end of 2021, I think the
Mhm.
Instagram page was at maybe a few thousand. But the good thing about the Instagram page, I don't even run the Instagram page anymore. I don't even post on there anymore. But the good thing of it about it was that I saw somebody predicting that Bitcoin is going to go back down to 10,000, and then I saw somebody right after talking about the Bitcoin Standard, about the book, and that kind of prompted me to start looking at it more. And I don't like reading books. I still don't like reading books, just like in high school. I still don't like reading books. I like audiobooks. If there's a book that I really need to physically read, then I will. But if in general, I would prefer to read the audiobook. So for the audiobook for the Bitcoin Standard, I think I must have listened to it like 5 times. I must have listened to it a few times because every time you listen to it, there's something new that comes out of it, right? There's something new that you kind of understand. So in 2021, I started diving into it. My knowledge was very shallow. I didn't really have. I thought I posted something on Twitter saying that Bitcoin is a gamble. Clearly, I didn't understand it. And over time, I've changed my position on that. As you get presented with new information, you have to change your opinions. If you don't, then you're not going to go very far. So over time, I changed my opinion on Bitcoin. 2021 was when it hit the peak, and then I think it hit the peak, it came down, then it hit the peak again. Um, I think I got very lucky that I didn't get into Bitcoin before that. If I had gotten into Bitcoin at, let's say, 30K when it came down, and then it
Mhm.
came back up, it would have been I would have been in a very weird position because I would have probably thought that, okay, I need to sell at the top, or when Bitcoin comes below 29K, something like what Elon Musk did. So Elon Musk, Tesla, they bought Bitcoin at like 29, 30K in 2021, and then they sold when it went near the bottom. Do you remember that? I think they sold like 20,000 Bitcoin or something like that. Now they have 10,000 left over. But I think I would have been in a very similar situation, and um, I would have probably thought of Bitcoin completely differently. Maybe I wouldn't have dove in any deeper. But over time, I mean, the knowledge just compounds, it compounds, it compounds. Every time you read a book, you learn something new. 2021 was my first step towards Bitcoin. And I got lucky because I quit my job, because if I was working in my job, I wouldn't have been able to spend all that time learning about Bitcoin.
And also reading the Bitcoin Standard. So I've
Yes.
read the Bitcoin Standard, and I must admit, it's probably the most difficult book that I've read because it's so boring. It's literally so boring. And then you get right to the end and you're like, actually, I had to have read that for me to
Yes.
understand the end of it. And you listen to it 5 times. That's really, really good. Um,
Yeah, but the only reason why I listened to it 5 times is because, I used to do Uber Eats, and I'd have a lot of time to I'd have a lot of time on my hands to just while I was driving, I would listen to podcasts, I would listen to audiobooks. This was the book that I spent the most time diving into, and I feel like it made a difference. It really made me think a lot harder about what Bitcoin's true implications are on the world, rather than just thinking about the price. The majority of people, I think this is one thing that I've noticed. The people who haven't read the Bitcoin Standard, this is not everybody, but a lot of the people who haven't read the Bitcoin Standard, they just think of it as a price.
oh, yes. Yeah.
The book is very boring, but the
Mm.
information in it is truly life changing. Like it truly changes how you think. I have the book right here. So if you want a book to read, read this to your audience. If you want a book to read, read it, get through it. Eventually you'll see the benefits.
Mhm. And we see that time and time again with the Bitcoin Standard. It has changed lives. It really, really
Yes.
has. Okay. So in 2021, you quit your job, and you went into real estate. You did a little bit of Uber as well. You read the Bitcoin Standard. Let's talk about 2022 now. So 2021 was the bull run year. 2022 was a bear market. So when we got to the peak in November 2021, around about that time, the SEC came out. It issued Wells notices to cryptocurrency projects and exchanges. There was inflation concerns, and naturally, it was the end of the 4-year cycle. We slid down into a bear market. A lot of things happen in the bear market. fundamentally, or what seems to be fundamentally strong projects can go to zero almost overnight. We had lots of black swan events. We had Luna, FTX, Voyager, Celsius, 3 Hours Capital, and many others. Lots of people lost money, as you do in a bear market. Bear markets are quite difficult. You were sort of born in the bear because isn't it in February you bought your first Satoshis?
Yes. So I bought something like, I think it was $10 worth of Bitcoin at the time. At the time, it was maybe uh 10 Canadian dollars. That is. At the time, I think it was like 20,000 Satoshis. So over time, you can see how much that the amount of that has increased. So now 20,000 Satoshis is worth something like $25 or so,
Mhm.
$20 or $20, $21 or so. But over time, you can see that even small purchases have made a difference. But yes, the first purchase was in February of 2022. Um, oh, okay, yeah, yeah. So the first purchase was in February of 2022, and then even then, when I did first buy Bitcoin, I wasn't really that convicted. I still thought, like, there's podcasts of me. I've been on podcasts where I'm saying how Bitcoin doesn't compete with real estate. It doesn't compete with stocks. It doesn't compete with bonds. Now my opinion has completely changed. I used to think at the time that Bitcoin is just part of a diversified portfolio.
Mhm.
You need all the other assets because that's just what the world is built on. I think I was kind of brainwashed, to be honest. I just thought of it as um, this is how the world has been for the last 50 years. So the next 1,000 years are going to be the same thing. And now, I mean, my opinion has completely changed. I don't think that people really need the other assets anymore. I don't think people should be buying rental properties anymore because Bitcoin is such a powerful asset. And keep in mind, at the time, 2022, things can change very quickly, right? In 2022, from 2022 till today, it's only 3 years. I went from thinking that Bitcoin is basically nothing to thinking that Bitcoin is the best asset in the world. Anybody can go through that journey and either ignore Bitcoin and continue to say that it's a scam, or they can truly take action and try to figure it out and try to look at it from the lens that this thing could actually improve everything. I think we're just stuck in this world where it just everything just seems so negative, and if we have something positive like Bitcoin, it just seems too good to be true.
Mhm.
And because of that, people are just ignoring it. I so when I started posting about Bitcoin on Instagram, this was around, I believe I started posting near the end of 2022 about Bitcoin here and there. I went from like 100,000 followers to 90,000. I lost 10 to 15,000 followers pretty much over months, and it was terrible because it's the best performing asset in the world, and it could truly change people's lives. And I mean, like I said, I didn't start buying it until 2022. I don't expect people to just go into it and start buying immediately. That's not going to happen. But I mean, the main point here is, well, you can start with small amounts. You can change your mind as you learn. You can develop your thoughts and really think about the impact that this will have over the long term.
Mhm. Mhm. And when you look at things like when you look at smart money, they're now raising millions and millions of dollars, not to buy real estate, not for marketing or putting out new products, but to buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the future. Just very quickly, let's touch upon altcoins. So you went into Bitcoin in 2022. What did you think about altcoins?
So at the time, I did think that altcoins are going to do something. I had a well diversified portfolio of altcoins. I probably had like 40 coins, 30 coins, something like that. I don't remember the exact numbers. Um, I thought that they could actually compete with Bitcoin until I just dove deeper. So I think I started buying altcoins before I started buying Bitcoin, which is kind of terrible. Um,
It's
and
normal now, but back in the day,
I
everyone.
mean, it's the unit bias, right? You think, okay, Bitcoin is already at 100, or at the time Bitcoin was at like 50K. So I was thinking, okay, or maybe 50, 60K, whatever. I was thinking, okay, maybe I can buy this random coin. It's only a cent. I'll buy it. I'll wait until it goes to $1, just like Bitcoin, and then I'll put everything into Bitcoin.
Mhm,
It's just the mentality that everybody goes through, right? I think it's fine. That's how you discover. Sometimes that's just your tuition. Essentially, that's how I think of it. When you try to go into any kind of investment, you're not going to start making money right away. You're not going to um, start making money, especially if you have nearly no knowledge. So I was buying altcoins. I thought that they were the future. I thought Bitcoin was just one of many,
Mhm,
but now I realize that Bitcoin is a one of one.
mhm. Let's talk about your family. So, what did your wife think about you going into cryptocurrency?
Um, she's very risk averse. She didn't really like it. She didn't really like that I quit my job either. But I wouldn't have been able to quit my job without her in the first place. So, I mean, she's the reason why I'm even able to do what I'm doing today. The impact that I've had, I have like a few thousand subscribers on YouTube. I've done webinars teaching people how to learn about teaching me how people how Bitcoin works. I posted on Instagram, like I said before. I have a newsletter. I have all these things. The only reason why I have those things is because my wife was willing to take the risk because she has a stable job. To her, she didn't
Mhm,
really understand the business side of things. Most people, her family, in the people in her family, they don't have that background. Most people are just working regular jobs, and I mean that's perfectly fine. But the way that I see it, if she hadn't thought that I could succeed in this, I wouldn't be where I am today. So
mhm,
everything is because of her. Even the Bitcoin that I have, I probably wouldn't have it if it weren't for her. Because like I said, I studied Bitcoin, I discovered Bitcoin after I quit my job. Before I quit my job, I was miserable. I hated it. I didn't want to learn more. I didn't want to. I was just waiting for the weekend, right? So
mhm.
because of her, I was able to leave my job and I was able to discover Bitcoin.
Let's talk about oh, before we go on to 2023, so you bought your first Satoshis in February 2023. The bottom of that cycle was November
2020.
2022. Let's talk about 2020. We're still on 2022. So November 2022, Bitcoin hit around about 50,000 US dollars. How did you feel watching your portfolio go down?
I think by that time I had kind of realized because I had worked in markets before, I worked in financial services before. I kind of realized that okay, assets are going to be volatile. It's perfectly fine. I didn't panic about what I held. I panicked more about buying more because I actually thought that FTX was going to be the bottom. I didn't think Bitcoin is going to zero, but I had friends who did think that, people who thought okay, Bitcoin is going to 11K, 10K, 5K. I kind of ignored them and I just put as much money as I could based on my risk tolerance into Bitcoin at the time. So I didn't panic. I didn't really care about my Bitcoin stack going down. I was willing. I have a very high risk tolerance, unlike my wife. I'm willing to go down with the ship if I have to.
Mhm, mhm. Awesome. Okay, so that was 2022, the bear market. Let's talk about 2023 now. 2023 is the recovery year. Not much happens in 2023. The price starts to go up. In 2023, you kind of went down the rabbit hole when it came to Bitcoin, didn't you? Tell us about that.
So before I went down the rabbit hole, I actually had this moment where I thought I was smarter than the market. And there's this ETF called BITI. It's Bitcoin inverse ETF. So I bought that. I thought I was smarter than the market. I thought, okay, so at the time Bitcoin was at like I think it was at like 25K. This was early in 2023. So Bitcoin's price went up. It spiked up after the bottom and then it came back down. It came back down a little bit. And I thought I was smart. So I bought the BITI ETF. I thought, okay, Bitcoin's actually going to go to 11K. I was a complete idiot. Just for your audience, I was stupid. Don't do this. Don't short Bitcoin because you could lose a lot of money. So I luckily I got out quick, but if I had just held by this time, my portfolio would probably be down like 90%. I got over it. I had to let go of my ego. So that's the first thing that happened in 2023. So like I said, don't short Bitcoin. Don't be stupid. You don't know where the price is going. For all we know, somebody could buy $1 billion worth, $10 billion worth overnight, and you would be completely wrecked. So that's the first thing that happened. 2023, something else that happened was I became completely orange pilled. So I watched this video. I got really lucky with watching this video as well. So it just came on my feed. It was talking about how um, it said, "Are landlords?" I think the title of the video is "Are landlords really that bad?" and he was
Mhm.
talking about how the entire financial system is designed basically to cater to landlords, and how landlords get tax benefits. They don't really do anything. They buy houses and then they rent them out to people. The people who they rent them to are having to work for the money that they pay for in rent. So I think that that kind of changed my perspective. But like I said before, I thought that real Bitcoin didn't really compete with real estate. I didn't think that Bitcoin competed with stocks. After watching that video, I kind of started realizing that real estate is being used as a store of value. Funny enough, it was a socialist video. The account that posted it was a socialist account, and it made me think. So it's something else that made me think. So first of all, that made me think real estate is a terrible investment. You shouldn't use it as a store of value. There's moral issues as well. I mean, of course, Bitcoin is outperforming it. And then the other side of things was also that um, I realized that socialists and capitalists really want the same thing. They just want a more prosperous world. They want to be able to live their lives, right? So people talk a lot of they're very negative about socialists, communists, capitalists, but at the end of the day, they all have the same. They all really have the same intentions, and that intention is to make it so that people can live their lives. In a true capitalist world, we wouldn't have house prices going up the way that they are, and that kind of led me to the entire system about how things are broken with real estate. People can use real estate as collateral. They can have money created out of nothing. Capitalism doesn't work unless you have a sound form of money. And I think I connected the dots there, and that's where I became truly orange pilled. Before this, I thought, okay, we can buy real estate, we can buy stocks, we can buy index funds as an investment. After I watched that video and after I really thought about it, after I guess you can say after I let it marinate, um, I completely changed my thoughts. I posted something. I think it was in October or September of 2023, or maybe it was August of 2023. I don't remember the exact month, but I posted something. I said I sold all my stocks for Bitcoin, and that post just went absolutely nuts because I explained it. I went through my thoughts that stocks are much more risky than Bitcoin because you have CEOs, you have a group of people who control that company. Shares can be printed out of nothing. So that post, I I, I made that post in I think August of 2023, sometime
Mhm.
in the second half of 2023, and since then, I've just become more and more bullish. So at the time, I would say it was before Bitcoin and after Bitcoin. 2023 was that year. Before Bitcoin was before whenever I made that post. After Bitcoin was after whenever I made that post. My opinion had completely changed.
Mhm. Who was supporting you with Bitcoin, understanding Bitcoin at
Oh,
this?
yes. It was a bunch of YouTube videos. I was listening to podcasts. So when I was doing Uber Eats, I did Uber Eats from I believe the end of 2021 until the end of 2022. So in that time, I listened to so many podcasts, or maybe the end of 2023, but I listened to so many podcasts, I listened to so many videos, I listened to so many audiobooks, and there wasn't really somebody in real life who I was talking to. Actually, yes, there was one person. I met this guy at hockey. I play hockey. I met this guy, and then he introduced me to his friend who's extremely orange pilled, and he told me you should learn about Bitcoin, spend the time, and that kind of gave me a bigger push to study Bitcoin. But I didn't really ask him questions. I didn't really ask him about the fundamentals. I didn't learn from him about the fundamentals. I learned about the fundamentals from podcasts, from books, from Investopedia. That
Mm,
was my support in real life. Nobody that I personally know, say family, friends,
mhm,
are as deep into Bitcoin or just understand, like putting in the time to learn about Bitcoin as I am. But I'm getting them into it. I'm really pushing them so that they have the support that I didn't have.
mhm. Okay, awesome. So that was 2023. You started to learn and go, you orange pill into Bitcoin.
Yes,
Um, is that the sort of time that and that's the time that you left altcoins as well?
that's correct. So I sold all my stocks and all my altcoins for Bitcoin at the time.
Mhm, mhm. And in this specific move, how did your wife feel?
She was scared.
Oh,
She was
bless her.
really worried. So I posted it on Instagram and she saw it there, and she's like, "Wait, I didn't know you did this." I told her, "Yeah, I did this, and I think it'll be probably one of the best decisions that we ever make. She was like, "Okay, I'm not really comfortable with this, but I trust you. Do what you need to." Um,
Oh, so sweet.
and it worked out. It worked out really well.
Yeah. Awesome. Give her my regards. She's very supportive. I love her. Okay, let's look at 2024, last year. Um, so before we dive into your YouTube channel, what was 2024 like for you? We started off the year with ETFs. We had a little bit of a alt season in quarter 1, a quarter, and another tiny bit of alt season in quarter 4. Alts didn't really perform. We had an extended meme season. I'd like
Mm.
to get your thoughts on memes as well. We had Germany round about in the summer sale, I don't know, 50,000 Bitcoin or something similar. We had Donald Trump run on Bitcoin, and then obviously he became president as well.
Huge year.
It was an eventful year last year, and obviously it was a halving year as well. So before we talk about your YouTube channel and your community, what was 2024 like for you?
So in the beginning of 2024, I was I think I think I quit Uber at the end of 2023. So in the beginning of 2024, I was starting a new venture essentially. I At the end of 2023, before I left Uber, I had started doing webinars. I'd started I'd started doing paid webinars, and that turned out to be a really great way to make money. So I started doing webinars, but somebody mentioned how I'd probably be able to scale the information that I'm selling, and I'd be able to make more money by posting the content for free. And that's what made me think about starting a YouTube channel. At the time I received a DM from somebody who wanted to help me build a community on the platform School. And normally I ignore these DMs. I just delete them. But for some reason, I don't know why.
Yeah,
So what was that?
I always think of them as scams. I always
Yes.
ignore them.
That's exactly it. So for some reason, I don't know why, I responded to this guy's DM, and he turned out to be great. And he told me about School, about the community, the thing that you can build on there, the platform. And he told me to start making YouTube videos. So I had thought before about somebody who mentioned that I should post my content for free. That was like the seed. And then this guy kind of pushed me. He said, "Do it and it'll help your community." And I thought, okay, I'm not really doing anything else with the community. I'm still doing the webinars, still making money from that, but I need to grow this even more. I need to grow this business. And I started YouTube because of this guy who I would have ignored normally. And I mean, we are where we are now. It was one of the best decisions that I made starting my YouTube channel. I've created more businesses out of it. For example, I do one-on-one consultations now. Before I was charging 100 Canadian dollars an hour, and I was getting barely any any uh any meetings. Now I'm charging something like 400 Canadian dollars per hour, and my calendar is booked.
Mhm, mhm.
It's amazing.
So just very quickly, in 2024, so I know in 2022 you were making small purchases into
Yes.
your buying Satoshis. How were you DCAing in 2024 or were you lump sum buying?
Always DCAing. I'm always DCAing. I'm always lump sum buying. If I ever have extra cash, then I buy Bitcoin. If I don't have extra cash, if I need more cash, then so what I used to do is I would just sell some of my Bitcoin. Now I've been thinking about maybe it's smart to take a small loan against your Bitcoin. Not like if you were gonna borrow
Mm,
against the whole thing. If, let's say you have one Bitcoin, you're not gonna borrow half a Bitcoin against it. You're not going to go and put 50% of your loan. You're not going to get a loan that's 50% loan to value, because if Bitcoin drops 50%, your entire Bitcoin is going to be liquidated, right? So the way that I see it, now I've changed. I've changed a little bit, changed how I think. Instead of selling my Bitcoin, I can either get a loan from a bank, get a line of credit, get something else, some other way to create fiat, because fiat's been going to be created no matter what. Why
mhm,
don't I just get it created? Instead of selling my Bitcoin to BlackRock, instead of selling my Bitcoin to Fidelity, MicroStrategy, over time I've kind of started thinking about use the current financial system to keep your assets as long as possible. The people who haven't figured out Bitcoin already, they're going to keep waiting. They're going to keep waiting. I'm not selling directly to them. Like the Bitcoin that I sell on the exchanges, it's just going directly to all these massive companies. So why not just keep the Bitcoin, borrow a little bit of money, use that to pay for your expenses, and then as my for me as my income increases, I can just pay back that debt pretty easily, and it's been working pretty well for me.
Mhm, mhm. So we've got Bitcoin on one side, and then we have utility projects. So utility projects take a lot of time, they take a lot of expertise, their innovation, all the rest of it. And then we have memes. Now, last year in 2024, we had an extended meme cycle. A lot of money was pulled away from utility projects. Bitcoin did amazingly well, actually. I think it started off the year at 38,000 US dollars, and it made an all-time high before the halving because of the ETFs. And then it made its actual all-time high at, I think it was 108,000 US dollars. And then we had the memes as well. When you think about memes, how do you feel? Have you ever bought a meme?
No. I bought so before I used to buy altcoins, I would say I guess you would call them utility coins. I don't think that anything if your goal is to make quick money, maybe you can buy a meme, you can find the needle in the haystack that gets you a 100x return, but the chances of that are very low. If one person is making a certain amount of money, memes are a zero sum game. If one person is making a certain amount of money, there are other people who are losing that money. So if somebody is selling the top, somebody else is buying the top. And eventually that person who bought the top is going to be selling and they're going to be selling at a loss. So the way that I see it, even utility coins, nothing competes with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the only store of value that we need. We don't need any other store of value. All these other coins, they might become something at some point in the future, maybe Ethereum, maybe Cardano, whatever the coins are, I don't really know at this
Mhm,
point. But whenever they do become something, the way that I see it, the price will be much lower in terms of Bitcoin because everything trends to zero in terms of Bitcoin forever. It doesn't matter what it is, everything trends to zero in terms of Bitcoin because it's the only thing that we have certainty on its finite supply. So the way that I see it, we don't need another coin. People talk about Caspa, people talk about Ethereum, people talk about XRP, whatever other coins there are. All of these coins are going to trend to zero in terms of Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the only store of value that we need, and store of value is the biggest problem that we have to solve as a society today. So as more people figure out that Bitcoin is a better store of value than everything else, all of the value from everything else will go into Bitcoin. There are probably going to be pumps from these altcoins, from meme coins, from utility coins, but over the long term, they're all going to trend to zero in terms of Bitcoin. And I don't have a problem with people buying them. Perfectly fine. They can do what they need to. But if their goal is to save for the future and to build wealth for, let's say, 20, 30 years from now, the only thing that's, I wouldn't even say guaranteed, the only thing that has the highest likelihood of being around at the time would be Bitcoin. I mean, at this point, it seems to be more and more guaranteed every single day, but you don't know what you don't know. So just because of that, maybe there's a 0.001% chance that it goes to zero, but the chance is there. But what I'm saying is that the chances of everything else going to zero are much higher than the chance of Bitcoin going to zero. So if you need a store of value, if you need a way to save for the future, buy Bitcoin.
mhm, mhm. So last year we also had 2024, we had the ETFs approved. We had Trump running on Bitcoin. A lot of legitimacy was added to Bitcoin and the crypto space. You and I were both in crypto and Bitcoin before then. How do you feel about being in Bitcoin before these institutions and big players came in?
I mean, it feels nice, but at the end of the day, these institutions and big players are always going to have more Bitcoin than me. It doesn't matter if the price goes to, let's say, $100 million. Warren Buffett will be able to go and buy way more Bitcoin than I can buy. So I mean, it feels like I was right, but at
Mhm,
the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because the people around me, most of them still aren't buying Bitcoin. So I think the amount of Bitcoin that me and you have, I don't know how much I don't even have to know how much you have to know that at some point, the amount that you have will be way more than you need, right? But the thing is that the people who actually need this thing, the people who need to save in it, they're ignoring it. That's what
mhm,
makes me a little bit, I guess, a little bit less hopeful on the future. Bitcoin is hope. I do think Bitcoin is going to improve the world, but the people who aren't buying Bitcoin right now are the ones who need it the most. The institutions don't need Bitcoin. They're going to survive regardless. They have
Mhm.
fake money working for them. And eventually, when they do figure out how Bitcoin works, they'll be able to buy it. But the people who my channel is targeted at, a lot of them still aren't buying it. 99% of the world isn't buying Bitcoin. They're still ignoring it. So it feels nice that we were ahead of them, but we have more Bitcoin than we need anyways.
I think it's just a necessary evil. I actually don't
Yes,
like them, but there's nothing I can do about it because Bitcoin is permissionless and,
agreed.
of it decentralized. Okay, let's go back to your YouTube channel. So you opened your YouTube channel because you had a lot of knowledge that you can share with other people, and you're continuing to do so. What is it like actually making YouTube content?
I love it. It's the best thing ever. I used to hate going to work. Now I can work every single day and I have no problem with it. I can make videos every single day. I can have meetings every single day because I'm just doing something that I really like doing. I mean, it's genuinely so fun to me because I get to think of things differently. I get to think of things from an angle that most people haven't thought of it from, and then I get to share my thoughts. I mean, what's better than that, right? Being a YouTuber is probably everybody's dream. The majority of people would love to make videos on YouTube and get paid for it, and I'm living that. Who knows how long it'll last for? I could get banned at any time. My account can get closed. So I always tell people, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram if you can. At the end of the day, though, it's the best thing ever. If you can start a YouTube channel to your audience, if anybody here watching this video can start a YouTube channel, do whatever you love. You don't have to talk about Bitcoin. You don't have to talk about money. You talk about if you like a show, if you like Friends, for example. There's this channel that I really like. I'm not sure if you watched the show Breaking Bad. But basically, what he does is he tries to give different scenarios. So whatever the story is in Breaking Bad, he tries to put a twist on it. And he says, "What if this happened instead of this?" And then he gives you like uh, a full on video just explaining the entire scenario. It's so fun. It's so fun to watch, and he's making money doing it. So everybody should start a YouTube channel. It's the best thing ever. It's stressful sometimes in the beginning. It's stressful when you're trying to get the snowball rolling, but after the snowball is down the hill, it's all fun and games.
Mhm, mhm. Okay, tell me about your community. So I do lurk on your live streams. I absolutely love your community. They're very friendly, they're very generous. Tell me about your community.
They're great. So I think the majority of them around, uh, they're millennials and Gen X. There are a lot of people who are older, a lot of baby boomers, a lot of people in their 70s, 80s watching my videos. There are also a lot of people who are younger, but the majority of people I would say are between probably 25 and 45. They're looking for a way to get out of the rat race. That's the key here. If they can get out of the rat race, if they can enjoy their lives earlier than expected, then they're happy. They would love that because I mean, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't want to get out of the rat race? Who wouldn't want to be able to quit the job that they hate to be free? Everybody wants that. So in general, I think my community is people who are pretty knowledgeable on Bitcoin, people who are getting there, and then there are also people who have no knowledge at all. People who I can talk about the absolute basics, and there's people out there who say, "Oh, that blew my mind." Right? Even the absolute basics. So there are people who of all ages, of all levels of knowledge. I think a lot of the people who used to follow me on Instagram and Twitter used to only like uh, the stocks and real estate, but now I think my Twitter is completely just Bitcoin. The
Mhm,
community that I've built, the people are very supportive. People are constantly sending me tips. They're constantly sending us Bitcoin on our when we do the Maple Bitcoin shows. They're constantly sending us tips on there. It's amazing. It's so fun to have built something. And the reason for this is that the people who are following me on or on YouTube right now, they've been following me for a while. They've seen me talk about this. They've seen me get investigated by the CFA Institute. They've seen me um, create content even though I get tons of hate for it, and they support me because I stick to my morals, I stick to my principles.
Tell me about this investigation.
So somebody reported me to the CFA Institute where they said that my content is basically too bullish. They said that I'm giving crazy numbers. There was a post that they specifically wanted to report. It was me saying that Bitcoin is going to, so at this time, keep in mind that Bitcoin was at 30, 40K.
Hmm.
So I was saying that Bitcoin is going to 100K, then it's going to a million, then it's going to 10 million, then it's going to go to 100 million. I basically explained how price is determined at the margin, how more and more people will want Bitcoin over time. So the price will increase. There will be less available supply for people to buy. And they reported it. In my opinion, it was something that was in an attempt. I posted in an attempt to help people, but they took offense. They reported it. The CFA Institute looked into it. They came to me. They asked me, what's your basis on these statements? So I sent them my Bitcoin webinars. I told them, watch these and you can learn for yourself. This is the basis for my statement. And they came back to me again. They said, you need to explain it a little bit further. And I asked them, do you ask people who talk about stocks about the basis for their statement? And as soon as I replied with that, they escalated to the head of enforcement, and the head of enforcement basically said to me that my content is fine. I can keep posting what I want to, but I have to differentiate between opinion and fact. And that's perfectly fine. I completely get it. So I say in every one of my videos, I don't know where the price is going. Nobody really knows. All we know is that there's going to be 21 million Bitcoin. There's only going to be one block every 10 minutes. We're going to see this thing go up forever. We don't know how much it'll go up. We know for a fact that more and more dollars will be printed and added to the economy. This thing will absorb value from other assets. That's already happening. But I think it was a good thing that they did investigate me. Maybe at some point I was just going a little bit too far. Um, everything happens for a reason. I think it was a positive.
Right, okay. Let's talk about the Maple Bitcoin. So I know Jaw. Jaw's been on the channel. We've told his story. Lovely guy. Tell me about Maple Bitcoin. How did that come about?
So with these podcasts, I was mentioning before that I really like making the YouTube videos. It's all fun and games. But at the end of the day, these podcasts are a really great way to build a network. So the reason why I met with Jor is because I had a podcast with him. I watched one of his videos, really liked having conversation with him. And then I met another guy. His name is Forrest.
Hmm.
Had a conversation with him as well. Really smart guy. We have great chemistry. We all three of us have great chemistry together. We really don't have to plan our videos in advance. We really don't have to. All we have to do is we think of a topic, and we can just start talking, right? So that I think that was one of that was one of the things that came out of the podcast that I was doing before. Unfortunately, I don't do the podcast anymore. I completely stopped. I was finding them to be a little bit difficult because some guests aren't the greatest speakers while others are really great. So, kind of differentiating between them, it was getting very difficult. It was getting very tiring. So, I started just doing it on my own. And now we have this channel, Maple Bitcoin. So, we have those Maple Bitcoin conversations. We do live sessions every week. We meet every week to create more content just without other than the live sessions. And I think we've orange pilled a lot of people even with that channel, even though it's brand new. People are watching our content, they're learning tons. They're getting so much new information that they otherwise wouldn't. I think one of the issues with having conversations like this is that it's kind of difficult to get somebody's thoughts out of their mind unless you know exactly what they're thinking. If you've talked to them a couple of times, then it works. But if it's the first conversation, it's kind of difficult. I think you did a really great job with this conversation. But in general, it's all the same questions over and over again, right? So when you meet with somebody over time, when you meet with somebody multiple times, like we could record a second session, for example, and I'm sure we would go even deeper. It would be even an even better conversation. So when you meet with somebody over time, you know how they think, you know where their thoughts are about a certain topic. So you can just dive deeper and deeper into certain ideas and topics. I think that's what worked really well with Maple Bitcoin because we've been making so many videos, because we've been thinking about things from so many different angles. It's really it's blown up. It's
Hmm.
grown so fast just because the conversations that we have are amazing. Some of the conversations that we have on there are way better than the conversations that I post on my own channel.
Hmm. And you guys work so well. I actually really enjoy the shows. I'm
I
often on.
appreciate it.
Okay, let's look at 2025 now. So let's look at this year. How has this year been for you so far? I mean, it is meant to be. So last year we had the halving. This year, according to the 4-year cycle, we're going to have our blow off top. It has started a little bit slowly. Maybe we're following 2017. Maybe this is going to be a little bit different. How has 2025 been for you?
It's been great. I've had a lot of fun owning. The thing about Bitcoin is that when you own it, if you own Bitcoin, you're not gonna have a bad year. Even if the price goes down, it's a positive because you can buy more. When the price went down to 75K, people were panicking because their altcoin was dying. It was down 80, 70, 80%. But I was happy because I saw Bitcoin go down and I thought, okay, maybe I can buy more. I can get a bigger share of this 21 million total supply. So to a Bitcoiner, it's always positive. Business has been great. My YouTube has been just completely going crazy. I'm seeing this growth after 4 years of putting time and effort towards social media, and I think it's well deserved. It's been fun so far, and I think it's going to get even more fun. The best is yet to come.
And congratulations on hitting 30,000 subscribers.
I appreciate it. Thank you. It's been a long time coming. A lot of people keep saying in my videos, in my comments, why does this guy not have a million? So at some point, it'll be at a million. Then it'll be like just like Bitcoin's price. You're gonna get to the same points, right? Just like Bitcoin's price, we're going to hit 100,000, a million, 10 million. We're gonna keep going.
Mhm, mhm. Okay, if we look at the rest of 2025, now it is a bull run year. What are your goals for this year?
My goal is not to give up, to keep going, to keep doing the things that I love doing. It's just to stay consistent, right? Like with my YouTube channel, I don't know if I'm doing anything special. I don't think I am. I'm just consistent. I post a video every single day. So in the rest of 2025, I plan to keep posting. I plan to keep doing the linear actions so that the results are exponential over the long term. There's this quote from I think it's Bill Gates who said it. You overestimate what you can do in a year and you underestimate what you can do in 10 years. My goal is just to keep doing what I can for the rest of 2025. And by 2035, whatever I'm doing is going to be so much bigger.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. So tell us about so with me, when it comes to my Bitcoin, I do have an altcoin bag. But with my Bitcoin, I'm actually holding for my great great grandchildren. I'm not going to sell my Bitcoin. I know the potential of Bitcoin. What are you planning to do with your Bitcoin?
So I've been thinking about this more recently. I feel like I said before, we're probably going to have way more Bitcoin than we need. So what I want to do instead of just hoarding it, instead of just holding on to it, instead of just passing all of it on to my kids, my grandkids, of course that's what I want to do. I don't have kids yet, but at some point, if that happens, I want to improve the community around me right now. So I don't know if I'm gonna have kids. I haven't had kids. We don't have kids yet. Maybe at some point. I don't know if we're gonna have grandkids. So what I would personally prefer to do is by the time I have enough wealth, I I've been thinking more about philanthropy. So for example, maybe build a better community center, maybe build a better library, maybe build bigger parks, better greenery in my area, the area that I'm living in. I think that's what I want to do with my Bitcoin. I've been thinking about it more and more. Before I did think about generational wealth, but I'd rather put in the money, the time, the effort to improve the world today rather than because you need to plant those seeds at some point. You need to do that. Somebody has to do it. So I mean, I think that would probably give my kids, my grandkids, my great grandkids a better world to live in.
Mhm, mhm. Definitely. And then if we look at if we revisit your wife and your family, so you've had all of this success, you've had so much success. What do they think about Bitcoin now? And they themselves, do they watch you on YouTube and are they more clued up on what you're talking about?
Some of them watch me on YouTube, not all of them though. I mean, I think it's okay. Everybody comes to Bitcoin at their own time. Some people never will get to it. Other people will get to it early and they'll benefit massively. And I don't take offense to people not even my family not watching my YouTube videos, perfectly fine. They have other things to do. My goal is just to get them to buy some Bitcoin, and I've been able to do that. I've been able to convince people who never even thought about Bitcoin before, who never would have come across Bitcoin, to start buying Bitcoin, and it's worked for them so far. So my goal here is just to help the people. If they don't want to watch my content, I'm not offended at all. They're more open to it though. When we have conversation, they're actually asking me questions themselves now because they see the price go up. So they're more open to it, which is great. I think that's amazing. But I mean, they're definitely not as interested as I am.
Mhm. And your Bitcoin yourself, your Bitcoin journey yourself, so you've been DCAing in for a long time. Have you ever thought about other ways of acquiring Bitcoin in the future, like maybe setting up some miners or something similar?
I haven't really thought about that right now. I think right now the best thing that I can do is just create more value. If I can create value in other ways, let's say for example, if I can just keep building this YouTube channel, I've orange pilled I've orange pilled so many people with this YouTube channel. It feels amazing to me. But I've orange pilled so many people with this YouTube channel. I mean, at some point I want to orange pill a million people. I think I've probably orange pilled maybe 10,000 people so far, which to
Well,
me is massive. But
mhm,
I want to get to a million. Then I want to get to 10 million. I want to have everybody on earth orange pilled, and until that happens, the journey isn't over. The job isn't done. Once the world is orange pilled, once Walmart is accepting Bitcoin, I think that's when I can start pulling back a little bit. Maybe at that point, do something else, find a different career. But before that, I'm gonna focus on this. I don't think I'm gonna focus on mining, to be honest.
mhm, mhm. Oh my God, Rajat, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your crypto journey with us. That was really inspiring.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I've been watching your conversations as well. You're really great with asking questions. Keep doing what you're doing as well. And anybody who's watching this, make sure you subscribe. The conversations that you've had so far have been great, and I know for a fact that over time they're just gonna get better.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.